Peace be with you. My brothers and sisters, please take your seats. So, Jesus asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" And they answered, "John the Baptist. Others say Elijah. Some say a prophet." And in Mark 8:29, he probes even further and he says, "But who do you say that I am?" And we get that question, and how we answer, how we feel about it is very indicative of the state of our faith. Because many of us maybe might give the safe answer, "You are love." Or if I were to ask, each and every one of us has to take a turn saying what Jesus is to you. "Don't call on me, don't call on me, don't call on me. What do I say, what do I say?" Or would we just, stutter, flounder? You're Jesus. That's who you are. How we feel about that question in the first instance is a good meter for who you are, how you are, and what your faith is like. And Peter eventually answered this question by saying, "You are the Christ," meaning the anointed one, meaning the Messiah. And we're going to read what that exactly reveals about Peter. So, of course, let's go to Mark 8. And I will read to you starting from verse 31. So please confirm when you are ready. Okay, so here's some pages, so I'll wait a little bit longer. Okay, so verse 31 says, "And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and the scribes and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. And he said this plainly. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But turning and seeing his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, 'Get behind me, Satan, for you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man.'" Now there's so much to digest here, because I like how the word is very direct by saying Jesus said this plainly. And that notes that Jesus always knew his plan. He always knew why he was sent here, why he was the one that had to complete this mission. He didn't boast, but he wasn't pitting himself saying, "Oh, well, I have to do this." No, he knew what he was doing it out of love for us. And the fact that Peter rebuked him, first of all, my gut reaction was, how dare he? How does he have the audacity to do that to Jesus himself? But it's because if we interpret this a certain way, Peter viewed him as a Messiah, right? He said so himself. And the Messiah, he viewed it as someone powerful, strong, maybe like today's action movies with guns blazing, swords slinging, someone powerful in your face. And we can see that himself by Peter being so passionate. He was so ardent to defend Jesus. So in his mind, the liberator of his people, the one who was going to deliver us, he imagined him so big, so grand, so aggressive, that when he read or saw or heard that Jesus himself said, he's going to suffer, he's going to be rejected. How do you reconcile that image of a suffering servant versus a powerful, liberating Messiah? So that was Peter's view of him. Just by saying 3 things, you are the Christ, 4 things, he revealed so much about who he was as a person. And it's funny because how he views him, we might think, I would never think that as well. But how we go about it in today's age, we might be like Peter and try to view Jesus as some political ambassador. And you see that in today's day and age where anything happens, any new bill passes, whatever, you hear people arguing, Jesus would have voted right, Jesus would have voted left, Jesus would have never done that. Like all of a sudden, he's something we can use to further our agenda, something we can use to confirm to ourselves, no, I'm voting correctly. And we feel like Peter was doing it one way, but we're also doing it in a different way. And he called him son of Satan, and that seems very, very harsh. If Peter believed in him, why is he all of a sudden son of Satan? Well, because we know that Satan also disguised himself as an angel of light. He is never going to try to deceive you, come at you in a way that's so far-fetched, so out of the realm. For example, if someone hands you a $3 bill, you know that's fake. No such thing exists. But if someone hands you a $100 bill, the face is exactly the same. Everything looks in its proper place. You don't have one of those pens to check it. You don't have any tools. And you just look at it, you're going to say, okay, this is a $100 bill. I'm taking it. That's what deceivers do. That's what manipulators do. And we know that Satan's the father of lies. So when he comes to you, he's going to come to you as something that's so closely aligned to what you want, to what you like. So if you want some political savior, like Jesus would have voted that. Jesus would never do that. You're not a true Christian if you vote that way. And you look at it, you're like, yeah, you're right. I'm a true Christian because I vote this way. Or we see each other in congregation and you should forgive me because Jesus says to forgive. Even though I'm not sorry, even though I don't want to take accountability, you still have to forgive me. Now we remember what Jesus says about forgiveness. Now we remember all those verses, all his words, and we skew our perception of him to fit our agendas. And that follows exactly why we have to analyze how we answer that question, especially non-believers, someone who's barely starting out. They ask you, well, who is Jesus to you? If you just stay staring, they'll be like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to that church. And even more so, this is why so many prosperity gospels, that's why so many mega churches flourish, because they tell you, Jesus already loves you. You don't have to repent. You are already saved by coming here and giving me your money. And we think that's so absurd. I'm never going to fall into that. Many people think they are never going to fall into cults. Many people think they are never going to be a victim. But because they go to what you like, to what is closest to you. For example, let's say I'm someone who is really, really into my job, into money. And they tell you, well, that's okay. You don't have to come on Saturdays. Or someone who is really into whatever you like. They make exceptions for you, or you make exceptions for yourself. Well, I already donated, so I don't have to go anymore. Or I already did this, why do I have to clean? Or Jesus sees my heart. That is the most insidious statement ever. God or Jesus sees my heart. And now all of a sudden we think that's okay. That wipes away anything that we've ever done, that we will ever do. And that gives us a free pass for anything. Or, worst of all, what if we don't even believe in the power or in the divinity of Jesus Christ? What if we're like many others today and back then who say, he's just another prophet? Or we think he was just a historical figure. How do I even know that he died for me? Why do I have to deny myself? Why do I have to do anything? And that's, I think, one of the most scariest positions we can find ourselves, because that means you come here, and why are you even here? What is the point of coming here, praying, worshiping, if you don't even believe the power that he holds in your life? And I think this can be shown in many interactions Jesus has had with the Jewish people. And to get our brains working, I want to ask my brother David, when Jesus said to the Jewish people, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. Why did you think they got so mad at him for saying that?
He was saying that he was basically God. He was there before everything was created. He was always there, and he always will be there. And so they got mad at him because they thought he was being someone's God.
Thank you. Exactly. One thing about the Jewish people is that they know their laws. They know their history forward and backward. So when they heard Jesus say, I am, automatically I can see that it brought them back to Exodus 3:14, when God said to Moses, I am who I am. So like my brother said, exactly, he was making a direct claim to his divine power, that he wasn't just a son of man, but a son of God. So he told them directly, this is who I am, and they didn't listen to him. They got mad at him. They said, how dare you? Let's throw stones at him. Now that we're in the same position, do we deny him in other ways? Jesus tells me to forgive my enemy 7 times, 70 times. the number you want, the number you want to put in it, and you say, no, I'm not going to do that. How dare they do that to me? Not to me. I stand up for myself. I'm not weak. That's one way of denying him and saying straight up, I don't believe in you. I don't believe in the words you tell me, so I'm not doing it. And what's most powerful is that wasn't the only time he had I am statements. There are actually 7 that are documented, 7 I am statements. And we're going to put an image up front of all of them. And while my brother is doing that, the first I am statement is, Jesus says, I am the true vine.
I am the true vine, and my Father is a vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Already you are clean because of the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you. As a branch cannot bear fruit by itself, unless it abides in the vine, neither can you, unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me, and I in him, he is that bears much fruit, for apart from me you can do nothing.
Jesus also says, I am the bread of life.
Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. For this is the will of my Father, that everyone who looks on the Son and believes in him should have eternal life, and I will raise him up on the last day.
Jesus says, I am the light of this world.
Spoke to them, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life.
Jesus says, I am the gate.
Jesus said again, truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep didn't listen to them. I am the gate. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will come in and go out and find pasture.
Jesus says, I am the good shepherd.
Good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep.
Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life.
Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die.
Lastly, Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life.
I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
These are all so many statements that we can even have a sermon of each of them by itself, but directly, without even needing us to go through so many pages, we can see clearly he says who he is. If we don't want to know, that's on us. If we want to let ourselves get swayed by what other people say, the ease of saying, well, you tell me who he is, we have it right here. We have it in our very Bible. And so many of them, he is saying that he is the way to salvation. He is the one who sustains us. He is the one who protects us. He's the one who loves us. That's who he is. There's so many facets to him. It's a disservice to reduce him to the forever gentle who we can take advantage of, who we can say, well, Jesus will always forgive. Jesus is always loving. And we know that's not true. You go through any of the Gospels and you see him correcting, you see him rebuking, you see him guiding his disciples to the truth. So how is it that we can conveniently forgive that or forget that and assume that Jesus will always do that to us? Or we'll never accept correction? Or we'll never correct others? It's easy to be the nice guy. It's easy to be the likable one. But that's not going to save you. And that's not going to save the people you care about. There's so many that he said. And one of the 2 most powerful ones that I think really touched me was the bread of life, that whoever comes to me shall not hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. Now it's only a matter of remembering his words. Because we go through day by day, issues by issues, and we all have worries, rent, paying bills, whatever goes on in our lives. And if we don't remember who he says he is, we'll always be worried. We'll always be those stressed out people, anxious people. But it's remembering, who is Jesus to me? Oh, well, he is the bread of life. He is the one who sustains me. Or even if I'm thinking, why am I here for? Why do I even go on Saturdays? Why do I even believe? Well, because whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? You'll see time and time again that Jesus wants you to question it, wants you to answer that question. Do I believe in him? When I am worried, do I remember him? When I am stressed, do I remember him? When everything is going great for me, do I remember him? It's not only just knowing who he is, but knowing how that works and how that manifests in your life. And if you need even more confirmation on his power, his divinity is also confirmed by God himself in the Transfiguration. Now, we're not going to go to it, but just to paraphrase it, he took Jesus, Peter, James, and John to a high mountain. And what did they see? They saw Elijah. They saw Moses. I can only imagine how astonishing that must have been to hear the great men that you've heard stories about, the foundations of the faith, and say, they're right here. And depending on the version, some versions say Peter asked to build them tabernacles, and some versions say 10. But when he turned away because he was scared, they were gone. And then there was a cloud overshadowed them, and a voice came that said, "This is my beloved son, listen to him." So I don't know how much clearer that can get. He left us a book. He gave us his word. And God himself is saying, listen to him. This is my son. Now, how do we listen to him? How do we believe in him? Now, let's go to verse 34. It says, "And calling to the crowd to him with his disciples, he said to them, 'If anyone who would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life would lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? For what can a man give in return for his soul? For whoever is ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him will the Son of Man also be ashamed when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels.'" So that is a direct instruction. There is no guessing. There is no confusion. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. In today's age, we see the cross for its beautiful symbolism. We know what it reminds us of, but we have to remember that at that time, the cross was a punishment, a death sentence. It would be like in today's language to say, "Come to death row, follow me into a firing squad." I don't think so. I don't want to do that. That's the human reaction. That's the natural reaction. But that's the conviction it takes. That's what it demands. It demands all of you. It doesn't demand the best version of you on Saturdays. It doesn't demand you when you're in a good mood, when you actually want to try. It demands all of you, body, soul, mind, to have the understanding, to have that intention and follow him anywhere. And this is why he says, deny yourself, because your self-preservation instincts, what you like, is going to say, no, 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 no. It's going to rebel always. It's always going to be at odds with each other. But this is why those decisions you make day by day, what you choose to do, those are the moments that decide who you are. If you're a man or woman of faith, or if you're just a listener, if you're just an audience member. It's that moment. And I like how despite the time difference, Jesus' words are still so relevant today. Just like how he knew back then people were going to worry about their jobs, their relationships, their day-to-day worries, he said to them, "For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul?" Because he knew that we want the tangible, the palpable, the prize we can easily see in front of us, the things that we can obtain and make us feel good about ourselves. We know this world runs on money. We know it's power-based, it's status. If you know the right people, you have the right connections, you can get away with things. You social climb, you network, all of a sudden you're a CEO. All of a sudden you're friends with other big CEOs. All of a sudden you guys are committing crimes, and it's not far-fetched because we see that in the world today. We see how powerful men and women are evil. They do heinous things and nobody really punishes them because that's what this world runs on. It runs on power, on money, on greed. So that's why Jesus says, why are you wasting your life? Why were you forfeiting your soul, chasing these things that don't last? Money doesn't last. Your appearance never lasts. Your status, people will forget about you in 50 years. Or if they do, you're just a footnote in somebody's story. These things that we waste so much time fussing over, obtaining. I work this many hours and I have 4 degrees. Okay, good job. But that never lasts. So why do we spend our entire efforts? Are we hanging our salvation in the balance for these things? So when you find yourself fussing, imagine Jesus himself is asking you, for what can a man give in return of his soul? What are you forfeiting? It's those things that, even if we want to go back to the kind Jesus, the pacifist Jesus, that's not who he was. He put, as we say, the finger in the wound, and he asked you those direct questions. And it's funny because if someone else were to ask him, it'd be like, ugh, she thinks she's so that. She thinks he's so righteous. But because it's Jesus, I hope we have the respect to never make faces, to never say anything, and we're going to be quiet and listening. But it's those things where we really have to put our faith to work and imagine being confronted with these very questions and being honest in answering them. And we know also in James 4:4 it says, whoever wishes to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. And that's how direct it is. There is no room for lukewarm. There's no room for maybe today, maybe no. It's you have to pick a side. Like in anything else, making a team, you have to pick a side. Choosing what to vote for, you pick a side. War, people pick sides. Everything you have to pick a side. Almost everything you have to pick a side. So that the same thing goes for our faith. How is it we claim to be a follower of Christ, but we still dabble or we still enjoy the things that he's against? We still talk with people who straight up disrespect him, who straight up say to you, I don't believe in him. I think you're dumb for believing in him. I think religious people are not intelligent. And we're just gonna be like, okay, well, each their own. This is when you really, and this may sound a bit crass, but you really have to have a spine and say, no, I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe he died for me, and you can believe it when you want, but I'm attending Saturdays. I don't believe in that. This is what I believe in. It's having that conviction and say, just as Jesus chose to die for me, I choose to live in him. I choose to believe in him. And there's this quote that I really enjoy by Warren Wiersbe that says, denying self is not the same as self-denial. We practice self-denial when for good purpose, we occasionally give up things or activities. But we deny self when we surrender ourselves to Christ and determine to obey his will. That's what it entails, actually. Complete and total surrender. That everything we have, everything we do, we give it for his glory. And that's where I feel many of us are today. That's where we really have to put in the work and say, I'm prioritizing this. Realistically, I'm putting this over you. I'm putting this thing over you, that person. But now I'm going to let it all go. I'm going to trust in the fact that you sustain me, that you're the way, the truth, and life, that if I believe in you, I'll live. That's what it comes to, and that's who he is. He corrects, he rebukes, but he also gives you the guide for how to make it. And I believe my sister Sandy had a comment.
You mentioned so many things that are relevant about not wasting time and putting our faith to work. We pick a side. All of the people here, we pick a side. But we're tested on our faith every day. And I think it's really hard to remember, easy to forget, that we're going to be accountable like a tally mark for what we do every single day. Every day I'm going to be tested, maybe on the highway, on my patience. Maybe at work I'm tested on my compassion. At home I'm tested on my love for my husband. If I'm still struggling with the same things, I'm failing my faith, showing my faith every single day. I'm denying Jesus every single day. I don't think about Jesus every single day. That motivates me to change, to live like him, to love, serve, be compassionate, be merciful. I think that's a call to attention that we need to really, that's the perspective that changed my mind a long time ago about really how we're graded every single day. Every day is a test. It is a gift, but it is a test. We either end the day failing it, and at the mercy of God, if we remember to pray to him, to become, like my mom says, like cuentas con él, Or we can just go on about our day like little animals, respectfully, like little animals, just remembering and hoping that once I mature, once I do this, once I do that in life, then I'll come closer to God. That's why we tell the youth, this is your glory days right now. Give him everything you have. You don't know how to ask him. It is so simple, and Satan wants to make it so hard. It is hard, but like our brothers have always said, this growth and maturity changes. It gets easier with time once you put that faith into continuous practice. If you're white knuckling it with your own strength, it will always be hard, and you will always fail. But that's just something I want to mention.
No, thank you. You made several great points. And looking for answers has never been easier than ever. With the internet, I found that image in like 3 seconds. The 7 I am statements. Who does Jesus say he is? Type it up. There it is. All you have to do is read. All you have to do is look for it. And of course, that's why we're here. Because you're not the only one that has ever gone through things. You're not the only one that has ever been tempted, that has been maybe caught up in your own laziness. These things happen to us all. That's why it's so important to be a community, to be a congregation. Because this is why we support each other. We lift each other up. And I really like the point you're making of how it is in the everyday, because whether you like it or not, people are always observing you. They're always noticing you. They make their own perception of you. But how likely is it that people were to look at you, say, and Sister Esme, and Sister David, I see Jesus in her. Or Brother David, excuse me. You know what I mean. I see Jesus in her. How likely is someone to say that and for it to be true? Or will someone say, Brother X, I mean, I guess he's nice, but he's just there. Sister Y, no, she's a mean girl. Or Sister B, I mean, she acts nice, but she really talks a lot of smack. She really talks bad about people. And they say that based on things that they notice about you, they see about you. How embarrassing is that for us to be self-proclaimed Christians and for people to have this other image of like, oh no, she's such a hypocrite, or he's so fake. That's embarrassing, really. So now it's working to say, okay, how do I alter my actions? How do I fix my attitude so that each and every moment, each and every day, people can say, no, she is a hardworking servant of God. He is a respectful man of God. I see that he works so hard. I see that she's motivates her sisters to pray more. To have those things said about us and for it to be true. That is why we have these lessons, so that every time we remember his words, every time we look at our book, that it impacts us. That it doesn't stay as just theory. It doesn't stay as just something to pass the time, something to make ourselves feel pious and good, but to alter ourselves and say, wow, Jesus was so compassionate in that moment, and I hope to be that compassionate when someone fails me, when a brother hurts me. Or wow, Jesus had a lot of conviction when he yelled at those people selling at the temple. I want to have that same zeal. I want to have that same strength and say, when I see something goes wrong in the temple, it's looking at him and his attributes and emulating them in our lives. Because this is a verse that we all really love, that's really popular, but I think it's important to say one more time. And I want to read Galatians 2:20. It says, I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And I really want to put emphasis on this second half. In the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. May that always be true. May we aim for that to be true and say, I, Jesse, the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith. Put your name there for it to be true. I live by faith. I follow his ways. Now that we know who Jesus is, now it's up to us to say, I want to show others that this is not just a fluke. This is not just the typical stereotype of a fake and hypocritical Christian. But I want people to look at us, because they will look at us and say, you know what, that is an inspiring young man or woman of God. Let me go into church more. You have no idea the way we do impacts other people. May that be the goal today and always. God bless you, my brothers and sisters.